is the Fuel Sports Network.
It's a trap!
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
This is the Team of Rivals podcast.
Everything you want to hear from the big sports to the big screen.
He's all by himself, fires into the end zone. Caught! Touchdown! No!
On into the windup in his first offering. Just a bit outside. He tried the corner and this.
Doesn't like you. I don't like you either.
Time winding down. Mike over for yes, she is gone.
I don't believe what I just saw.
Go crazy, folks. Go crazy.
You believe in miracles? Yes.
Number 5 when ready.
What?
Good afternoon, Cubs and Cardinals fans, and welcome to the Team of Rivals podcast. It's Sunday, August 25th. We don't really have a whole lot to talk about because the seasons are pretty much over for the Cubs and the Cardinals, but we are going to talk about what you need when it comes to baseball, including inside the park home runs, campfire milkshakes, broken fingers, and, well, we'll talk about City too, because, you know, we can't not have Ron's Soccer Minute. But before we get into all of that, just remember to follow us on social media, Team of Rivals Pod. For those of you who prefer to watch the show like you're doing right now, we also post to YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble, so hit the like and subscribe button. So be sure your notifications are on so that you know anytime we post new content. You can always find more great podcast and blog content on the Fuel Sports Network. Joining me for this week's show, co-founder of TOR, number 151 in the 2023 edition of C70's Top Cards on Twitter, Ron Nuttall. And it's very doubtful that the permanent occasional guest host, Elliott Dewey, will join us. He sent us pictures of himself, quote, doing a thing, unquote. So he's either
he had some leg muscle.
He did, yeah, I know. That's pretty impressive, right? Yeah, so either Elliott is bouncing around on a lake or he's drunk. So the likelihood
I've got him covered.
Beautiful. Nice.
Catch that one. Little blue moon light. It's 2:00 in the afternoon here on the East Coast. I am perfectly entitled to crack one open after the yard work and after helping a third grader with her homework, which was more exhausting than doing the lawn.
100%. 100%.
Yes.
All right. So this happened. Cubs fans, I know you already saw this probably ad vomitum. Ron hasn't seen this because I commanded him absolutely not to. In fact, Elliott missed it. But I will tell you this. The lad and I were watching the Cubs-Marlins game on Friday night and saw this live. And so as soon as the ball went off his bat, I called it and I said, oh my God, that's a triple. And then Ron, you'll see as soon as it kicked away, I was like, kid, you need to pay attention to this because it was obvious where it was going. And that's because I think baseball needs more of these. So here we go.
Pete Crow-Armstrong will stand in. It'll be 8-9-1 here in the Cubs half of the third. Down
supposed
1-0.
to be playing.
And PCA
Not seeing
lines
it?
one to right.
I got it. No, I got it. I had it.
Crow-Armstrong
Sorry.
will
Okay.
stand in.
Misfire.
8-9-1.
That's Ron's fault, folks.
In the Cubs half of the third. Down 1-0. And PCA lines one to right, and it's past the outstretched glove of Sanchez. PCA on the move, racing towards third. Are they going to send him? Here he comes. PCA to the plate, and wow! Inside the park home run, Pete Crow-Armstrong. Oh, brother, can he absolutely fly?
I mean, you see him out of the box. It's nonstop, and the minute that ball gets by Sanchez in the outfield, him coming around second base, I thought he was absolutely flying. Willie Harris saw it. He didn't hesitate. And good luck. You're not going to see many inside park home runs like that right there, where that ball pretty much stayed close to the outfielder, but they say you can't outrun the baseball. PCA just did.
I got goosebumps watching him run. The thing that was so much fun about that, in looking at the replay, Dempy, as soon as he went around first, you could tell the way he was running. He was thinking inside the park home run.
So there you go.
Wow. Did they clock him going around the bases?
14.08 seconds. It's the fastest inside the park home run since Byron Buxton did it. It's the third fastest in the StatCast era. Byron Buxton did it in 13.97 and 14.05. So, I mean, blink of an eye how fast he was. And the impressive thing about it, too, is the Marlins didn't miss the cutoff. Like, as soon as yes, he missed the ball and it kicked off the wall away from him. But as soon as they got it back in quickly. They almost had a play on him. But also listening to the crowd's reaction, it wasn't just the Cubs fans that were into it. You could hear it was the Marlins fans too. They were like, we're going to see something that you don't see. This is exciting. And then the whole place erupted when he scored. Like, and Ron, we've talked about it before. And I've said, like, the thing that ultimately made me a baseball fan, it wasn't the proximity to the Cubs. It wasn't the White Sox run in 1983. It wasn't the Cubs making it into the playoffs in 1984. It was the 1982 Cardinals and the chaos that they caused on the bases. And that's what got me excited about it. And seeing guys like Pete Crow-Armstrong and Ellie De La Cruz, and because he does have speed, Shohei Ohtani, seeing the chaos on the bases since they've, made changes to baseball so that there's more movement on the bases. That's what baseball needs more of. I mean, yes, the pitch clock has helped. The 3-batter minimum has helped. You need more activity on the bases. That home run, far more exciting than 90%, 95% of the home runs that have happened in Major League Baseball this year.
No, that was really cool. And I'm glad I waited to see that. Cause you said on the text, if I hadn't watched it yet, don't, that ball took a perfect hop off the wall. But to his credit, holy smokes. He outran his helmet.
Yeah, every time. If he's going multiple bases, that helmet is coming off. And he's not even trying. It always comes off.
Brendan Donovan, nowhere near as fast, but he typically loses his helmet too. Not to look at me Louie moment here. I actually have seen one. I've actually seen one in real life. I was out. It was my first weekend I was ever in Hawaii because I was stationed out there. The Cardinals and Padres actually played a real season series, and the Padres did this for a few years. If you recall, they would have a home series in like Monterey, Mexico or something. They were one of the few teams that did that at the time. But they played out in Hawaii at Aloha Stadium. I saw Ron Gant hit it inside the park. Now, Aloha Stadium, man, that was spacious to say the least. But yeah, no, he caught one of those two, a very similar look where they almost got him at home, but he slid in head first and was safe. So I've actually seen one in real life. But Pete, that was a different day, different time when baseball was a lot more interesting. So maybe I wasn't jumping out of my skin when I saw it, because you had once in a while you would catch one of those, right? They're way more rare these days. But that was cool.
Yeah. Just absolutely thrilled to have seen that, and to have seen it on TV, and to have anticipated what was going to happen so that I could get my son to be paying attention to it. And baseball needs more of that. Baseball needs more exciting plays like that, that get people excited about the game.
Yeah. I was, it reminded me of another incident at the same game, and that was a doubleheader. And I stayed for both. A fan jumped the fence. Ricky Henderson was in center field for the Padres. Tony Gwynn is in right. He went over and got a high five from Ricky Henderson. Went over and got a quick autograph from Tony Gwynn. Juked some of the security. Slid headfirst into second base, and they cuffed him right there at second base.
That is awesome. And Ron, because I'm doing my best to be Johnny on the spot here, I think I've got the video. I need to upload it into the library here, but we're
the wrong game.
Maybe we will see Ron in the background somewhere.
A young 21-year-old Ron out there somewhere in the outfield, upper deck, I'm sure.
Beautiful.
I met Tony Gwynn that morning or the day before. I think that might have been the day before. Tony Gwynn was actually on base, on the Marine Corps base, signing autographs, and that's where that's where I met him. Yep.
Oh, that is so cool. Did you get a picture with him?
I didn't get a picture with him, but I got an autographed picture, and they were free. You didn't have to pay for anything. So I think I gave it to my brother, who doesn't appreciate baseball at all. So it was a gift, not very well given.
Do you think he still has it?
I'm sure he still has it. He's a pack rat. He keeps everything.
Okay. Are you ready? Here we go.
Mhm.
Ron Gant, inside the park home run in Hawaii.
Now with 2 strikes, he might go the other way, so you move back.
That one is belted deep into left center field. Henderson can't get it, and he crashes into the wall. Gant to second. Heading for third. He's going to be waved home. Here comes the relay. Safe! An inside the park home run.
There we go.
Boy, John Miller really wanted that to be an inside the park grand slam, didn't he?
You can tell. Very young sounding Joe Morgan at the time too. But yeah, no, I was at that game. I remember that vividly. It was a very similar play, right? Like, obviously, the hit was to a different part of the park, but the play at the plate wasn't quite as bang bang as Pete Crow-Armstrong's, but still, yeah, I remember that one.
My favorite tweet from and obviously this is from the PCA home run because X wasn't around then, but my favorite tweet immediately after it, I can't remember who it was, but he tweeted Willie Harris waving Pete Crow-Armstrong around third as if Pete was going to stop anyway. Right? He puts up a stop sign, forget it. PCA is running through that thing.
God, so many Cardinals players that were guilty of that too. They just ignored stop signs. Albert was notorious. Or just not even looking at the third base coach.
Well, I probably should address a little bit of the elephant in the room. I haven't turned teams. I haven't turned coat on my team. However, this was the giveaway last night at Comiskey Park. A pretty sweet, actually, White Sox football jersey.
Dick Butkus homage there?
Yeah, we were trying to figure it out. On the back, there's no nameplate, but we were talking about it during the game last night. And instead of the GSH on the sleeve, you got a, let me see if I can get it in the camera there. You got a CWS.
Yeah.
Actually, let me go solo so that we can get a better view of it. There you go. You got a CWS instead of the GWH. But yeah, my friend Alex and I were trying to figure it out during the game, who the 51 was. And obviously I can't think of any famous White Sox who wore 51, and nobody really of note for the Bears other than Dick Butkus. So the guess was that either they didn't ask or Dick Butkus refused to give them permission to put his name on it
because he was passing.
Yeah, because he doesn't want to be associated with this team. I mean, I got to tell you, Ron, I saw some really bad baseball.
Sure.
The Tigers and the White Sox. Oh my God.
I mean, the only thing that would top it off if you told me that Javier Baez swung at a pitch out.
Javier Baez, I think, came out of the game in like the second or third. Javier Baez, I believe, started the game. But if he did start the game, he was out of the game before we took our seats. Because, and I sent you guys a video of this. See, this is all video week. I sent you guys a video of this because we were standing in line for. No worry. I got you. This is the line at the Sox game if you want to get the Campfire Milkshake. And in order to get your milkshake, the first thing that you have to do is
I think the video audio is drowning out your voice. Oh my God, are they that good?
Well, I don't mean to shit in everybody's milkshake, but they're fine. They're fine. In fact, I got a video of one here being prepared, so you can check that out too.
Oh man.
My goodness. All right, no picture on that one, bud. Yeah, no picture.
Well, hopefully it showed over in the actual stream because it showed here. Anyway, if it didn't, I'll drop it in on uploads. But anyway, the video of them being prepared. They were good. They were fine. You know, I mean, it's basically like a chocolate shake with a s'more on top.
Nothing you'd wait in line that long for normally.
Oh, I'm going to have to wait in line for it again because I sent the boy a video of it and he's like, that looks yummy. And it's like, shit, I'm going to have to go to another White Sox game this year.
I got to think ahead. Yeah. So
but I did have the foresight because it's in a bar. It's in one of the actual bars at the park. So I had the foresight when we ordered our milkshakes to also get a line beer.
Yeah, you have to do that.
And my buddy looked at me and he was like, oh wait, that's brilliant. Because it was like a 20, 30-minute wait to navigate the line. And he's like, that's really smart. I'll have one too. And by the time we got up to get our milkshakes, beer was gone. It was perfect.
Well, that's a great idea. Boy, at Wrigley Field, they got to eliminate the 2 beer rule. Like, you can only buy 2. I get why they do it. But you go there in teams of 3, it sucks.
Yeah, yeah. The only way it works is if you're getting it from the beer vendor who's walking through the stands.
That's it.
But you're right. That 2 beer rule is like it. Why can't I walk up with 3 driver's licenses?
That game we went to. I tried to set 2 down on the floor and order a third because we went with who'd we go with?
Wait, which time?
No, it was the Cubs Cardinals, that doubleheader. Who went with us in the first game? Gosh, he's been on the show before. I can't remember his name. Andrew?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was us 3.
Yeah.
I went to get us around, put 2 on the ground. She saw me do it. She's like, nope. And wouldn't serve me. So come on.
Yeah, that's dumb. If I can, I mean, really, and what are they trying to prevent against? You getting drunk? It's not like you can't get 2 and then step down to the next stand and get 2 more.
Well, that's exactly what I did. I went to a different one and they, saw that I already had 2. So they weren't going to, whatever. They're sticking to their rules. It's just their job.
Yeah, I know. But like a beer vendor wouldn't sell you 3 if you were sitting there and there were 2 empty seats next to you. Be like, I'm getting the next round there in the bathroom. He would absolutely give you 3 beers.
Oh yeah, he'd sell you 16 if you want.
Exactly. There's no difference.
Yeah. So I tried to watch a little bit of baseball last night. City didn't play till like 10:30 on the West Coast.
I know. We're gonna get into that.
I was waiting. Like, you know what? I'll go ahead and turn on the Cardinals game, dude. I didn't last 3 minutes, and I just went over to YouTube and started searching stupid shit.
Now, was that before or after Wilson broke his finger?
I didn't know he broke his finger.
Yeah, I saw it this morning when I woke up. I don't know if it happened in last night's game or what, but apparently he took a pitch off the middle finger and he can't grip a bat. So I would guess that given how much time is left, if he does come back this season, it's only going to be as a DH because there's no way he's going to be able to grip a ball.
Like one of their best hitters all year too. I mean, at least most consistent. So that's, I'd say it's a bummer if I cared.
But
I don't, man. It's gotten, I think I was pissing myself off while I was mowing the lawn earlier too, just thinking about, and 2 topics, 1 baseball, 1 Star Wars. We'll get to the Star Wars part at the very end, so we don't lose all the baseball fans.
That's right. Or the City fans.
But it's reached its peak with me. I've gotten past the point of any form of anger or frustration. I'm at the peak now of just not giving a shit. And I mean, when I started getting mad about it, it was like, why? What's the reason? Have I changed? Have I gotten older? Boring? No. I mean, is my life more boring than it was 20 years ago today? Sure. I had more freedom. I could do more stupid shit. But I'm looking at this, Pete, and I'm like, okay, well, why? I haven't changed that much. Not between the years. And it's just, they've made this product so uninteresting. And it used to be one of my go-to things. You know how big of a baseball fan I was.
Well, and Ron, you exhibited it earlier in the show because there was a smile on your face and I could clearly see you were enjoying yourself, even though it was a Cub.
Yeah.
Watching PCA circle the bases. So you haven't lost it, right? You haven't lost your love for baseball. It's this product in particular.
You're right. That's probably a better way to put it. But then there was a comment made. I don't know where this comment was made or what forum, because I didn't even read that much about it anymore. I think it was Bernie Miklasz I heard talk about this. That DeWitt said because of fan support, payroll is likely going to go down. And I'm thinking, even if you thought that, what a stupid thing to say out loud, right? You're going to punish the fans for the product that you've actively chosen to put on the field every year for like the last 8 years. Like, you're going to do that. You're going to tell fans, well, can't put as much into the team because you guys aren't there. What a crock of shit. The fans have helped build that stadium. They have not only publicly, but the fans have supported the efforts to create Ballpark Village and to build up that wealth. Now you're going to say, because there's blotches of empty seats all over that stadium these days, that you're going to punish. You're going to tell us, I can't improve the product because you're not there. Are you fucking kidding me? That's an awful thing to say out loud. I don't know full context either. I don't know what was said the 3 minutes before that. That's the part that I've heard secondhand. And I find it just, I'm with the Cardinals right now, how you are with Lucasfilm and Disney. I'm really at that point. What do you think? Show up and I'll improve my team. Am I reading that right? Like if I repeated that back to you, how are you taking that? Am I overreacting, or do I have a right to be pissed that an owner saying something like that out loud?
It's funny that you brought this up because it was a conversation that Alex and I had in line yesterday while we were waiting for the milkshakes. And I posited to him, I said, which owner clears the decks, fires their manager, fires the front office, and starts over, the White Sox or the Cardinals? Because oddly enough, despite the many, many, many more losses, they're both right now at this point very similar, because the White Sox, I don't know if you caught it, the White Sox just announced within the last week or two that season ticket prices are going to be decreased by 10% next year as an acknowledgement of the bad baseball that they've given the fans. But all that does is, at least this is what I thought, all that does is set up next year for the Reinsdorfs to say, you know what, revenues are down. We're not going to be able to swim in the deep end of the pool. And so it's going to be a little while, we're not going to be able to improve the product on the field. And again, putting it on the fans, whether or not they decide to show up, they're going to be able to say, oh, well, revenues were down over 10%. And nobody will remember to remind them, hey, you reduced season ticket prices, and it's your fault that didn't result in a corresponding increase in season ticket sales because the product on the field is terrible.
Yeah. What do they think is going to bring fans back into the park? The threat of not spending money? Oh shit. Well, if we want to get anybody in here, I've got to start going to Busch Stadium more often. And then in a couple years, the owner will be kind enough to take that revenue and put it back into the team. I mean, what a dumb thing. This is not a stock. It's not a stock I would invest in. We'll and sure, you invest in companies sometimes on the front end. Venture capitalists do before a product ever arrives because you believe in the vision. Okay, so what's the St. Louis Cardinals vision? Right? Why am I investing in it? I don't know what their vision is. Here's what I do know, Pete. 11 years ago, 2013, everybody's talking about the Cardinals as a model organization. They're ahead of everybody else. They're smart. And today, they're not. Their product on the field at the major league level is awful to watch. It's not inspiring. It's not fun. It's not entertaining. Their minor league system, now they can't develop people. And if you believe everything else you read and hear, the Cardinals do not have the resources, meaning they don't have enough people to coach and train and develop. The Cardinals, they're behind on technology. Like, this shit all happened in the span of a decade, probably less than that, if we're honest. So they're not investing in their development, not to the level other organizations are. And they're putting shit out in the field that you see today. So I don't know where this group's going, but this is like the 90s Cardinals, the early 90s. You know how they turned it around? A new owner took over. What are you going to do, Bill? What are you going to do?
What's your sense? And I know that you have a lot of people blocked, but what's your sense? Are Cardinals fans at the point where they're like, hey, DeWitt, sell the team? Because they certainly are at Comiskey. Like, heard several chants throughout the night of sell the team.
Yeah, I would say that if the Cardinals were up for sale right now, it would make a ton of Cardinals fans happy. Now, sometimes you get what you ask for, right? Doesn't mean a new owner is going to be any better. But I think that, well, anyway, it's such a stark contrast to what my other favorite team across just a few streets up, what they've been willing to do to correct course. And the Cardinals are just like the polar opposite. this front office, this inner organization that's, been the consistent element there, the common denominator over the years, has got to be changed, and it has to be changed this winter. It has to. There's no way around it. They have to make a wholesale change. And really, I'm saying that, Pete, because I don't know, but I have a pretty strong sense that owner is not selling anytime soon. Not after putting in all the infrastructure and investments around and outside of the park. He's not selling anytime soon. He's probably going to die with that team.
But then you wonder, like, where are the profits going, right? Because why are they not? If they've fallen behind in technology, they've fallen behind in player development, they don't have the staff. Where is that money going? Because you have discrete buckets, right? You can't say, well, we're spending so much on major league payroll that we don't have it.
Well, the air cover,
the rest.
The air cover they're going to use is the TV deals. That's the air cover. And I'm not saying it's right, but that's what you're going to hear. The uncertainty due to TV revenue, which is a huge, I'm not discounting, it's a huge portion of how teams operate. That'll be the air cover here. But I think if you look at it, they're just reluctant to change. They are reluctant to change and change their operating model, which is why they've fallen behind when other teams have built up. So this is going to suck to watch, or not watch for several years to come. They have to, it's a cliche, to become a cliche among fans, but blowing it up sounds like a pretty good idea right now.
It's funny because, and I don't know if you read it, but Bernie Miklasz had a column earlier this week that basically reiterated everything you just said, specifically in the context of Jordan Walker. That here's this kid who got brought up too early, and the Cardinals didn't commit themselves to him, right? They didn't put themselves fully behind him. He got screwed up. When he finally started to get things turned around, they sent him back down to AAA, and he worked on it. And this year he was sent down to AAA because something was wrong. He's tearing it up at AAA. And one of the points that Bernie Miklasz really made well was at AAA, his splits were showing that despite his being a right-handed hitter, he was hitting righties better than lefties. So you call him up when you have a need for him, one, because you have injuries, and two, because he's hot. And what do? Your manager sits him against righties and only puts him in against lefties.
You tell him you're a platoon player.
Yeah. Right. And you keep him up for a week, and then you send him back down. And Bernie Miklasz was making the point is this is not a one-off. This is what they did with Randy Arozarena. It's what they did with Adolis Garcia. And it's one of the reasons why they are where they are, is because they're doing it all wrong. And they've fallen behind, and they refuse to admit it or to do anything about it.
Yep. Yeah. Many feel the same way. He's articulating what we all feel very well, and that's what Bernie does. And it's why nobody in the organization talks to him anymore.
Right.
I mean, I don't think he cares. He's probably close to retirement anyway. He could care less. But no, he's speaking the truth, and I'm sure the Cardinals hate that. But they've put themselves in this position. They deserve every shit everything that's thrown at them in a negative way, every ounce of criticism. They brought it all on themselves, 100%. Don't feel sorry for any of them.
And at the other end of the interstate, the Cubs are playing better. And yet I'm astounded by, and I just think I'm being realistic. I'm astounded by the Cubs fans who are telling themselves that if the Cubs can continue to play well, that they can squeak into the playoffs. Everything that has to align for this team to make it to the playoffs so that they can get eliminated in the wild card round. Be realistic with yourselves, people. Enjoy the progress, right? Enjoy particularly what Miguel Amaya and Pete Crow-Armstrong have done in the last month and a half. Pray that these changes stick coming into next year and that they don't regress over the winter. And then look ahead to next year. But let's not delude ourselves that this team is going to make it into the playoffs and go on a run to the World Series. It's not happening this year. This is not 2016 again. This isn't even 2015.
It's a hamster wheel of this kind of shit, right? Like, look, we know who's going to be there in late October. We know among like 4 or 5 teams who's going to be there. Every once in a while, we might get a Diamondbacks or somebody that surprises. But it's amazing, isn't it? Like, what do you think you're going to do when you get in that first round? And I felt that way about the Cardinals for years, and all of us who thought that way have been right because they've been bounced. I think they've had like one series win since 2014. They've had like one series win. And all other instances where they've made it, they've been knocked out quick. So shit, man, I don't even remember what my mental state was, knowing that, hey, they're going to be there each and every year. They're going to be on top of that division. I don't even remember what that felt like. I don't know if I'm happier now or I was then.
You were happier then.
Well, thank God something stepped in and filled the void, which I'll get to later in my minute.
That's right. Yeah, we're almost there. So, Ron, real quick, did you hear the proposal that leaked out? I think it was about a week and a half ago about 6-inning minimum for starting pitchers. Yes,
I did.
So there's a proposal.
Imagine that forcing starters to do their job.
Well, and I think that there's a fairly good allowance within it, right? 6-inning minimum. If you give up 4 earned runs, if you throw 100 pitches, or if you get injured, but with the caveat that if you get injured, you immediately go on the DL, right? It doesn't get to be a phantom injury, that it has to actually be an injury that gets you sent down. What do you think?
It's too bad we've had to arrive to making a rule to fix, a wrong. But hey, look, they haven't shied away from doing other things, right? We still have the ghost runner, whatever. Do it. And you know what? Here's the part of it I do love is that it effectively what they're trying to eliminate is the short starter up front, right? The opener, and which is good because I hate that. It's not fun to watch.
No, not at all.
So look, if it's gonna stop that, cool, whatever. It's just too bad that teams just aren't doing this on their own and not building guys up to go 6 or more innings. Like baseball put itself there.
Yep.
And so now rules going to be put in place to try to correct that. So good. I'm okay with it. How about you?
Yeah, me too. And I think that corresponding with it, and I know that we were talking about this last night at the game. I know that the pitcher win statistic is largely meaningless. But part of the reason it's become meaningless is because pitchers don't go as long. And so a guy not going 7, 8, 9 innings makes it meaningless because you can't tell who the winner was. And I think that it'd be great if they gave that a little bit of a tweak too, right? Where if you start the game and you leave it because of injury, right? Or because you just get overtaxed, just because you didn't go, maybe we need to ease up a little bit on the 5-inning minimum, but the starter, if you are effective enough that you put your team in a position to win the game, right? You're in there, you leave the game when your team is up 10-0 in the 4th inning. And the reason why is because your manager is trying to, take care of your workload. You should still get the win. But also let's also give the scorer a little bit more leeway. The same thing that they do with saves, right? If you get somebody who's in there and he pitches what the scorer determines are 3 effective innings, the end of the game, even though it may not be a save situation, you can still be credited with the save. Why can't you do that? The same thing with the win statistic. Let the scorer determine which pitcher actually contributed the most to his team winning.
Oh gosh, you're leaving autonomy to scorekeepers. I don't know. I would be more in favor of, hey, only the starter can get a win-loss, not the guy who came in, pitched 2/3 of an inning, and
then there's just no winner.
I'm okay with that.
Hey, actually,
interesting stat to. I'm not going to bother looking it up, but interesting thing to see is starters total of wins versus middle reliever total of wins over like the last 5 years compared to like 20 years ago. That'd be an interesting thing to look at, right? But yeah, bring back the starter. Hell yes,
and
the real starter.
And Ron, you know what? I'm 100% sold. And bring back the starter win, and only the starter win.
Yeah,
your pitching wins and losses do not have to match your team's wins and losses. Your starting pitcher either won, lost, or had no effect on the game. I like it.
Yeah.
All right.
Me too.
That's it for baseball. It's time for Ron Soccer Minute.
Ron,
I want to start before you even get into it. I want to apologize to you because I got home from the game last night. And as I was sitting at the red line stop and I was kind of going through my things, I got the notification that City was up. I think at the time it was 3-1 at halftime, wasn't it? Or was it 2-1 at half?
It was 3-1 at the half.
Yeah, 3-1 at half. I saw that halftime ended just as I was as I was getting on the train, and I thought, all right, well, good for City. All right, 3-1 coming out of the break against Portland. I know that Portland's a good team. I thought, all right, good for City. I walk in the door and I turn on the TV and I saw that the game was still on, and I was like, hey, I'll catch the end of it. And I saw it was in the 84th minute. I turn it on to see Portland's equalizer get overturned. And I thought,
the offsides call. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, good for City. And then I saw something that I don't think I've ever seen. 12 minutes of stoppage time.
Yeah, that was a lot.
That was a lot. And then Portland's best player gets sent off on a red card. And I thought, good for City.
Nope. Set piece.
Nope.
Rocket. Top left corner. Yeah. We talked about that a lot. We recorded at the park about an hour before we jumped on here. Look, there's good and bad that comes with this game. First of all, this is a draw that feels like a loss. You had a 2-goal lead on three different occasions. You're up 2-0, then 3-1, then 4-2.
And it feels like a loss because it was on the road too.
It does. It feels like a loss. Look, there's only 8 games left. There was 9 as of before yesterday's game, and doing the math, they need probably about 44 points, somewhere in that neighborhood, right, in order for a chance to make the playoffs. And so they needed to win 6-7, draw 1. Maybe you can afford to lose 1. So it's not over yet, but boy, you sure make it a lot harder on yourself. That was one that got away, for sure. What the organization did to correct the goal scoring ability, like they corrected that, I believe.
Oh yeah,
right? They've got a good squad out there. Their back line, new first game for Henry Kessler. Right, they traded Tim Parker away. I'm not sure we even talked about that, but Tim Parker dealt to New England Revolution. Henry Kessler was the returning guy in return from that trade. His first game. So, there's probably a little bit of reason there why maybe some things were out of sync in the back line. But yeah, and it wasn't one of Berkey's best games. He did not play well. That penalty, it wasn't a penalty kick, but the set piece was to the near post. According to my co-host, that's just one you don't give up, and normally he doesn't. And so, not his best game, but I want to contrast this with the Cardinals, right? What City did over the transfer window. They obviously saw something that wasn't working, and these guys have, and I don't know if it's an itchy trigger finger or if it's just very clear that whatever was there before just wasn't going to be it, but they did something about it. The 3 new players that they have acquired on the offensive side have been fantastic, and they're only going to get better. This was the first MLS game that all 3 have played in. Only Cedric Tuchert, I think maybe the last MLS game before the Leagues Cup break, was on the team. But they're only going to get better. And now, despite the 2 Germans, Marcel Hartl, Cedric Tuchert, I think the biggest impact has actually been by the American Simon Betcher. He's a workhorse. He does the dirty work. He's a very technical goal scorer. He's been great. He's really been a shot in the arm for the team. And the 2 German guys are Marcel Hartl. His first MLS game was last night. He had 3 assists. That's never happened before. So they're going to get better the more they play together and train together. And so it's exciting. It'll be exciting for next year because all 3 are going to be there. They're complete dumbasses if they don't just pick up the option on Betcher. He's on loan and is supposed to be through June of next year. Pretty certain they're going to keep that player. He's been fantastic. What'll be interesting?
Yeah. Why would you have made that move for 9 games?
I've got to think their intention is to keep him. Yeah. The other player they have on loan was Jonas Horn, a left back, defensive back. He got in for a few minutes last night, but it's the first time we've seen him too. Jake Girdwood-Reich from Sydney FC. He made his way in as a sub late in the game. So we'll see what happens, but City continue. I don't know that any other team did as much over the transfer window as City did. which is in stark contrast compared to my team that doesn't do shit at the trade deadline. Or if they do it, it's so minimal and has no impact.
Well, hey, now don't sell yourself short because City is your team.
City is my team. I was talking about the Cardinals.
Yeah,
they don't do shit at the deadline ever. But yeah, so I'm excited going forward. Yeah, game got away last night. You know, they really had a few lapses on defense, but give credit to Portland. I mean, that set piece, that was a rocket. And speaking of Elliott's leg muscles in the picture, when you get a chance, just look at the tree trunks on Ed Leuven. Holy shit! I mean, it's like his legs are two people. I mean, they're massive. I mean, he just. I guess it's a style choice, but he's got the calves in his socks. He puts slits in them. And I assumed it was because he can't get his damn socks on. But yeah, he had a PK, and I think it would have went through a body. Top left corner. I don't care where he kicked that ball. If he would have kicked it at the goalie's face, it would have knocked his damn head off. So this guy's hell of a player. Yeah, I would have gotten out of the way of that one. But yeah, no, it was fun. I'm glad MLS is back. I'm excited coming up this next week. They play LA Galaxy at home. And, the boycott is over. The one I didn't really understand, but the boycott is over. And so the drums will be back. The supporter section will be full. And these new players who've played a couple of Leagues Cup matches in St. Louis, it wasn't sold out. There were noticeably empty seats. The supporters weren't there. So you didn't hear that, there was none of the, the coordinated chants or the drums or anything was happening. But now they get to see all of that this coming weekend. So it'll be great. That's good.
Ryan, you mentioned it and you gave me the opportunity to prep it. So,
okay.
I now present to you. Let's see. Let's hope that it's that we can get it there. Can you see him? Elliott's like, oh, it's too small.
That's okay. I mean, but look at the huge speed muscle on the front. You can still see it in full flex. Yep. You got to compare that to Ed Leuven, though.
I'll have to post it to our social media so that everybody can really appreciate it because it's just a little bit too small. Let me see if now it doesn't want to work. I'll have to learn how to use this a little bit better.
All right, you want to get the adults out of the room?
Yeah. All right. So listen, if you're here for sports, it's time to go because we're going to talk nerd stuff. We haven't done this in a while. Ron and Elliott are upset with me that we haven't done this in a while because I think that I had the foresight that maybe they didn't, or maybe not. I guess
willpower.
Yeah, I had the willpower that they didn't. Because we're going to talk Star Wars. So sports fans, adios. Thanks for joining us. Nerds.
Let's
Here
go.
we are, nerds. Nerds assemble. All right, Ron, you've been watching these, okay?
Yep.
So, I mean, obviously specific to the Acolyte. I heard and saw and read a lot of the reaction to it. My impression is that it was largely not good. And I think that's backed up by the fact that Lucasfilm has announced that there won't be a season 2 of The Acolyte, even though apparently it was pretty clear that there was an opening left in the final episode for there to be a second season. Yeah. So your take, sir.
I'd say that there were points in time in the first couple of episodes of this that it showed promise. But that promise went away episode 3. The power of one, the power of two, the power of many. You don't know what I'm talking about, but
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Those who have seen it know what I'm talking about. Yeah, it was disappointing. Yet another product Disney Lucasfilm has rolled out under the Star Wars banner under a streaming platform that just it's fallen flat.
No, Ron, let's be honest. It hasn't just fallen flat. It's shit all over George Lucas's legacy.
Yeah, it is.
They've turned out a lot of product that has basically given the middle finger to everything that George Lucas created and to the fans who are fans because of what he created.
And maybe you haven't heard this. Let me piss you off more. So whoever the VP is at Lucasfilm, the main editor in chief of Lucas, of the written material, books, I don't want to say her name, put out a tweet that if Star Wars only is consumed by 50-year-old white guys, then Star Wars dies when they do. So now that tweet's been deleted, but it was already said. And you know how the internet is. It never goes away.
Right.
Um,
Internet never forgets.
It doesn't. Star Wars has to be, I'm gonna sound really dorky shit here, but Star Wars have to have some magic aspect to it. It has to have that element of fantasy to it. And it has to be really good. Look, Rebels is one of my favorite Star Wars things that has been put out. But obviously that was post Lucas. But everything else that's come after that, Pete, damn near everything else has been like, shit, this should be better. It should all be better. So two of my great joys in life, baseball and Star Wars, it's in my damn bio on X. They're bad right now. They're bad. And you can't undo it. I have these fantasies just driving to work, thinking about Star Wars from time to time, going, Jesus Christ, I wish I could go in a time machine and just stop him from selling it. Because I'd rather not have it, Pete. I know it sounds nuts and piss people off. I'd rather not have it than have the shit that they've doled out.
100% agree.
Now, if I could save one thing in that time machine, maybe put it in a temporal wake, if I could use some Star Trek language, I would probably save Rogue One. But I'm telling you right now, everything else around it, I would even sacrifice the Mandalorian to never be in existence.
Yep.
Seasons 1 and 2, if we could go back and undo it, because it's just bad. I don't know how these things get missed. I don't know why directors are chosen and story creators are chosen that just don't know it, and they don't get how it works, and they don't get what made it special. That I don't know. And this comment about, hey, it dies when the 50-year-old white guys die. Okay, well, we have kids too. And what do you think we've introduced all of our kids to? Star Wars. So, lady, fuck you.
And Ron, when you first mentioned it, that was exactly where my mind went. And I will say, I think that the beginning of the end for me was when my son stopped being interested. When we were watching The Mandalorian, we were watching it every week, and I don't remember what the series was. I don't remember if it was Boba Fett or what. But 1 or 2 episodes in, he was with his mom when it got released. I think it was Obi-Wan. He was with his mom when it was released. So we were 2 weeks behind. He wasn't in a huge hurry to watch it.
Yeah.
And so then I started watching it on my own, and I lost the passion for it because it was something that I wanted to share with my son. And I am absolutely 100% with you. I would much rather have sacrificed all the rest of it so that he and I had this thing, these 9 movies, Temporal Wake, Rogue One, these 10 movies.
7 movies. Let's just
okay,
stop it at 7 movies.
These 7 movies that he and I could watch together and that we could enjoy. But he has no interest in Star Wars anymore. And it breaks my heart.
No, and you know what? My boys don't either. Not in anything new. I'm telling you right now, it's not hyperbole to say that the ones they enjoy watching more are the originals.
Yep.
And they like the prequel. There's things they like about the prequels too. And Sam, my 13-year-old, his go-to is Clone Wars. But Clone Wars was largely, that came from George Lucas and Dave Filoni. He loves Clone Wars. That's his Star Wars, right?
Yep.
And all this new stuff, it's just, how do you put out Obi-Wan series and make it so awful? There are parts of it I like, don't get me wrong. There are parts of it I thought was really neat. It's a hard rewatch. All of it.
Yeah.
How do you screw that one up?
It looks cheap.
It's claustrophobic. And so was Acolyte.
Yep.
You can tell this is made for TV shit. Maybe Star Wars does not belong in that format. And maybe it shouldn't.
Yeah.
I'm not excited for this Mandalorian and Grogu movie. It feels forced. Like, just make a season 4 of it. Make a season 4 if you're going to finish off something, and then wrap it up. I don't know, man. They've had so many missteps with announcing a bunch of shit that never happens. That, like Cardinal baseball, Pete, I don't even want to turn on the TV and hear about it.
It's funny. It kind of makes me wonder how much longer Star Wars is for the Disney Plus platform. And I know that sounds sacrilegious, but they only have one other project that's announced that's going to be on that platform. and that's what is it, Skeleton Crew.
Right.
And so they've got that. You've got Mandalorian and Grogu, and there are no other announced
there's
Star Wars projects.
The Rey movie, right, or whatever that is. But
yeah,
but who knows?
But there's also Rogue Squadron.
Like the other ones. I feel like that's going to end up like the other projects they've announced.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
But here's the thing. I don't know if it's my final thought on this or not, but if Star Wars does disappear or deprioritized or sold or whatever, this is not the old fans' fault. It's not our generation's fault that grew up with it. If Star Wars dies or gets minimized or they kill it,
it's Disney's fault.
Because of the shit they put out. It is not because of the fans. Let's make that clear. If it was good, we would be calling it for what it is. It's really good, and it's not. And that's what's gonna. If it dies, that's why. It's not because of guys like you and me, and people that are our age.
Well, and here's what will happen, Ron. People will continue to watch the original movies, right? The same way that people watch Alien and Aliens when it pops up on the streaming service of choice or on TBS or whatever. People will stop and they will watch that movie because they're good movies. But nobody is watching Aliens Resurrection because it's not good.
Whatever the new one is.
Yeah. But people watch the good stuff. And the same thing will happen with Star Wars. People will continue to watch Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back and The Return of the Jedi because they're quality films and they have a timeless quality to them. But you're right. Nobody is coming back for a marathon rewatch of all 3 seasons of The Mandalorian and Grogu. It's not going to happen.
No. Yeah, unfortunately, right? You've taken something that, I think just the standard has been lowered. And so is the Cardinal standard. 2 of my favorite things in years past, their standards are less. Star Wars should be excellent. No new directors, proven directors, proven storytellers. They should be the only ones allowed to touch it going forward. And that might sound harsh, that might sound unfair, but
who would have thought that in 2010, let's say, right? So we did have the Clone Wars, but who would have thought that in 2010 that the state of Star Wars was healthier when there was just a cartoon series than it is now in 2024 when it's owned by, I think, the largest entertainment company in the world.
It was more respected 100%.
Yep.
It was more revered, more respected. And it got off to a very promising start when they first took over.
Yep.
But somewhere along the lines, Pete, they've lost their way. And they lost the ability to make good Star Wars stories. I can get past the questionable casting. And by the way, I don't cast blame on a lot of the actors. They're doing their jobs.
No, they're
nothing to do with them.
Now, you can cast blame on the actors for the stupid things they say during the PR campaign.
Yeah.
But you're right. For the product that's on the screen, it's not their fault. Look, it goes all the way back to 1976 when Harrison said to George, you can write this shit, but you can't say it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's still true 50 years later.
Well, it's bad, Pete. I'm not saying my back has been broken because of the Acolyte. I was disappointed. I wanted something that was outside of the timeline we've always known to be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how in editing or watching the stuff that maybe they get so buried in the weeds, they're just not pulling back and going, that's bad. That's a bad scene. Maybe we should, I don't know, maybe get to the point where like, fuck it, it is what it is. We have to put it out, which is probably the case.
But do you have to? Because DC made that determination with what was it, Batgirl, where after edits and rewatches and everything, they're just like, you know what, we're just gonna take a loss. We're not even gonna release it. We're gonna destroy the tapes.
Yep.
And we'll just write it off as a loss rather than embarrass ourselves and damage our brand. And you know what? Maybe that was something that Disney maybe should have considered.
Yeah.
Some of this stuff is just so bad. Let's just take it as a loss.
Absolutely episodes of the Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan that they go back and look at it like, okay, you probably shouldn't try to sneak Leia out under a trench coat past a bearded Imperial officer with an oversized coat with a kid stuffed underneath of it. Maybe that's not the best thing to do for a Star Wars show.
And let's not have a shootout at a checkpoint. And then when you go to a high shot, you can see that you easily could have just, walked around the gate. I mean, that for me, that was the absolute low point. You're not even bothering to spend money on CGI in that case.
Yeah. Yeah. And how have you managed to make one of the most mysterious and interesting characters in Boba Fett uninteresting?
Right.
At the end of the day.
Well, and look, the problem with that is that they absolutely wanted to redo Boba Fett, but for whatever reason, they determined that they couldn't. And so instead they made him the Mandalorian, and all of the interesting stuff that they could have done with Boba Fett, they did with Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
And now what are you supposed to do when you finally decide that you're going to do Boba Fett? Well, all the good stories have been told already.
He lives at Jabba's palace now.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool? He's the mayor of a town or whatever his title is.
The daimyo.
Daimyo, that's right. I'm dumb.
It is.
Okay, that's enough.
Well, this is an uplifting finish to the week. It's a good thing Elliott didn't join us. And so with that, I think that we're done. It's a depressing way to finish it, but that's the state of baseball and Star Wars right now. And hopefully next year it'll be just a little bit better. Or at least maybe next week. Maybe next week it'll be a little bit better and we'll have something fun to talk about. When's the next City game, Ron?
Coming up on Saturday against the Galaxy at City Park, 8:30 Central Time. Or 8:30 Eastern Time. Garage doors will be open.
Oh,
what's
okay.
that? No, garage doors will be open.
Maybe you're going to be there.
I would love to. But.
Well, we'll listen hard. Maybe we'll be able to hear you cheering them on here in Illinois.
Hear Sarah.
In her full. How did she stay up for last night's game?
She did.
And how did she take it?
Probably same. We're probably on the same page there. Plus, it starts that late at night. If you're killing brain cells earlier in the evening, get a little subdued on late games like that.
Fair point.
Yep.
All right. Well, with that, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to leave a comment and subscribe. And if you want to help spread the word, please give us a 5-star review and tell your friends to do the same. And hey, if you want more depressing Star Wars content, go ahead and let us know right down below. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you listen to podcasts. And we also regularly live stream on Rumble, Facebook, and YouTube. Be sure to check out the other Fuel Sports Network podcasts, including the Derek King Sports Show, the X-Fan Show, Talking Sports on the Bleachers with Don Glenn, and At the Park STL. If he shows up, I mean, I know he checks from time to time. You can find Elliott on X. I'm sorry, maybe we should change his name to Tree Trunks on X at TOR_Elliott. And you can find Ron at
TOR_Ron75.
And where can we find At the Park, Ron?
You can find it at the @ the Park STL.
Beautiful. And of course, you can find the Fuel Sports Network at Fuel Sportsnet on X and also on Facebook. And finally, get in touch with us at any social media channel at Team Arrivals Pod or by email at teamarrivalspodcast@gmail.com. That's it. Ron, it's been magical as always.
Like always. Thanks for taking us out, Pete. All right. Well, until next week, with or without Elliott, we'll see you then. Love you all so much. Bye-bye, everyone.